This is Future Phenoms, tracking football's rising stars. I'm Andy. I'm joined by Nino Brown and SC Romero. We have a jam-packed episode that we'll break down after the intro. SC, Nino, what's going on, guys?
Let's go.
It's the deal, man. You know what it is. Two things I look forward to every week: Future Phenoms and what my wife's cooking for dinner. So let's get it.
Yeah, baby.
Let's get right into the show. Our first segment, names to watch for the 2024 college football season. SC, you're up first. Who's your first guy?
So let's start off with a running back this time. We're going to go running back Jalen Buckley out of Western Michigan. Redshirt freshman, had 5.3 yards per carry, just over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. This guy has good speed and good balance. You know, people contact him and he just doesn't fall down. He just knows how to adjust, knows how to move around. 5'11", 210. Andy, I know you've mentioned a couple times that's like your perfect build for an ideal running back, and he's right there on it. Just has that pro size. The thing is, you know, Western Michigan, you're going to talk about the competition there, right? So hopefully he has another great year there and maybe he transfers up. You know, last week I talked about Penny Boone. So I'm going to keep my eye on this guy, especially in your CFF leagues. You know, you want to watch him because CFF, he's going to ball out, right? He's going to get you those points. It's about what he does at that next level. Can he adjust and get to that pro level based on the competition? I really like him though, but yeah, that's my top guy right now, running back Jalen Buckley from Western Michigan.
I love Buckley. I've already spoke about him before. I think he's a dude. I think because he's out, Western Michigan doesn't get enough love. I mean, this guy explodes out of the hole like a shot out of a cannon. He can be that workhorse type running back, the 210-pound frame. Guy's wheels, always moving forward. He's good with angles. He's got that one-cut ability. That's what I like to see. And plus, you know, he's the yak monster, right? And at a point of contact, he doesn't go down with hand tackles or shoestring tackles. My man works through tackles. So I'm a big fan of Buckley, and give him a full season, and let's see what's popping.
And I actually have right here in my notes to reference, because what put me on him too was a couple months ago as a Debbie Darling on CFB Nation that you actually brought up. Forgot who your guest was at that time, but that was someone that it was like, okay, maybe I gotta check him out. Started watching the film and I was like, okay, I see it, you know. Yeah. So yeah, definitely watch out for him.
Got them long runs, man. My boy can just take it off and go.
Oh yeah.
He was someone that I wrote about and talked about after week 2 last year. And if people want to talk about his competition and, you know, can he do it against better competition? The game against Syracuse, the game got blown out by the end of the first quarter. But Jalen Buckley had a 75-yard run when the game was, I believe it was 0-0 or 3-0. They were down. He had a 75-yard run. After that, Syracuse put like 4 touchdowns in a row, and the game got out of hand, and they couldn't use him. So for anyone that's saying, oh, you know, G5 this, G5 that from last week, this guy, he has some juice. So watch out for Jalen Buckley. Well, Nino, who's your first guy that you want to talk about?
Before we get there, Nino, my bad, but just with Buckley, 3 things on him: size, speed, contact balance. You know, 3 things you look for in a running back, and he has them all. So definitely someone to keep an eye on.
I love Buckley. For me, I'm going to stay in the running back room. We might as well. We spoke in the green room. Obviously, SC likes this guy, so it's going to be a good one. Harrison Wiley, Wyoming running back, 5'10", 200 pounds. It's a little bit under your realm there, Andy. I know you like 210, 5'10", but he's right there. Came over for NIU, right? And 900 yards, 5 touchdowns, 165 carries. Boom. Just mirrored it. Got a little bit better. This year, Wyoming had 164 attempts. 950 yards, 5 touchdowns, but it's 5.5 yards per carry. And my man has them receiving skills. He's got 29 receptions, almost 200 yards over the past 2 seasons. Against Toledo in the Barstool Bowl, 18 attempts, 91 yards. Close to 600 yak, right? And you're going to say, oh, NIU, Wyoming. First game he broke out for Wyoming was against Texas. 18 attempts, 110 yards, 6 yards per carry, and a tutty. The very first drive was a tutty against Texas. Listen, the kid's got it. He can do it against the big competition. He actually went 3 straight weeks after Texas for 110, 156, and 191, and he scored in every one of those games. He's a chain mover, right? 31 first downs. He also is elusive, close to 50 more missed forced tackles. And he had 3 runs of 60-plus yards. If this guy can stay healthy and give you a full season, Harrison Whaley is a dog.
Yeah, you hit it on the money at that end if he can stay healthy. And, sometimes that's the curse of the running back, right? You see all these great running backs and they just can't do what they need to do. That nutrition, what they're doing pre-workout, after workout matters. And I think if he can adjust that can be big things. Something that I saw was he clocked in at like 21.8 miles per hour at one point. Like, just God, this guy has that godly speed, if you will. He sees that hole. He has to shifty footwork to get between those tackles and everything you need. And he's not afraid to get the contact. He's not running away from defenders if he needs to. He can run them over. At the same time, he knows how to adjust and get outside and break away as well. Now, I fell in love with him. And then, yeah, like you said, I mean, he got hurt. So that was the unfortunate thing. So stay healthy, man. And this guy, we'll be talking about him come draft time if he stays healthy all season.
He likes to get out to the boundary to run, but he's not afraid to go in between the tackles and then get out to the boundary. You're not going to get a guy that's getting everything going to the left end, right end. This guy can go in between tackles and then shoot out to the boundary. And man, if you give him half a step and he gets out there, good luck.
Yeah.
SC, who's the next guy that you want to talk about?
Yeah, man. So we'll go to the wide receiver realm, and that's going to be a wide receiver from ECU, East Carolina University, Chase Sowell. So he transferred up from Colorado, not up, but he transferred away from Colorado. Just didn't get the opportunities that he wanted there. Sadly, that would have been great with Shadir there. But 47 catches, 82 targets, and 622 yards. This guy, 6'2", 6'3", just has that frame, but he has that speedness, has that footwork to do it. He has the ability to win the contested catch. He's a physical wide receiver, but also someone that he can break away and do that. I expect him to be the top wide receiver for ECU this year, but it's going to be on the quarterback play. And something, for example, when I was watching Raheem Jarrett back in the day, I loved Raheem Jarrett, and people didn't really like him, but I'm not a huge fan of Tua's brother, Taluya, and that's someone that I feel struggled and really push his draft stock down. Don't necessarily do that with the wide receivers, right? You can talk about some great wide receivers, but they don't have that production. Then also look at the quarterback, though. Is the quarterback missing them when they're wide open? Sometimes you see that with Sowell. He has the ability to just burn guys if he needs to, but again, he has the shiftness and the quickness to gain that separation from them. And of course, the wingspan is there for him, so you always love to see that too.
Listen, I like Sowell a lot, and me and Vandy had some conversations about what I like about his game and stuff, and the situation he's in. I do think he'll be the wide receiver 1 for this team. I'm a little concerned because I do believe, I'm hoping actually, because I have a lot of faith in him. I think that Caden Hauser is going to take over as QB1, which me and Andy have also spoke about before, which means that it's going to be getting into comfortability with the receivers, kind of getting a whole new rapport, because Mason Garcia and the gentleman before them are now gone. So Solo's connection with them are gone. They targeted 3 wide receivers in the poll. They brought in Omega Blake. They brought in a guy who just can't seem to catch on, in Winston Wright, but he has all the capabilities. So if for some reason, maybe, going from Florida State to ECU, he's able to just clear the screen, reset, get a connection, that could really eat into Chase Sowell's production. So I love the kid, what he did last year. I think for me right now, I'm kind of like in a coin toss, shoulders up, not really knowing what's going on. I think we'll get a little bit more idea coming out of spring camp.
Yeah, definitely worth a stash in your CTC leagues. You're not drafting him in Devi or anything, but definitely worth the stash if you can get him on the bench. I mean, he's probably on your waivers, honestly, so you can probably go and grab him too.
Freshman production was great, so I'll take that all day.
Nino, who's your next guy?
I went digging deep. We haven't talked about a tight end, I don't think, yet in these episodes. So I went out, Bowling Green tight end, Harold Fanning Jr. I mean, I can't even really call him a tight end. You might as well call him a wide receiver. I mean, he's kind of like both 6'4", 230. The dude can play out wide. He can play in the backfield. He can play tight end. He can put his hand in the dirt. I mean, he can do it all. And he did this. Everything he did last year was with a lot of personal issues going on with the health of his sister. Was able to still just stack big games, 44 receptions, 623 yards, 6 touchdowns, averaged 14 yards per catch, right? He had 14 attempts in the backfield for 41 yards. He just screams Jaheim Bell type tight end, like just that guy that can do it all. And Bowling Green, it's pretty much outside of Terrion Stewart. Fanning's going to be option one for Balazak if he's healthy, right? 406 yards after the catch, right? He's got an ADOT of 5.7. So it's like my man LL Cool J used to say, he's doing it, and doing it well, all on his own. 13 missed tackles forced. He can play inline 50%. Like I said, in the slot, he was at 30%, and he played out wide 11%. So like he's all over the field. And I know grades at PFF don't mean shit, but he did get an 80 grade in pass pro. The dude can block. He doubled all his stats from freshman season. This is a kid in any Devi CFF league you want to go grab and stash. If it's CFF, you're plugging and playing every single week because this kid is putting up points.
Yeah, with tight ends, you think about in those leagues, like not everyone's Bowers, right? I feel everyone tries to compare. Well, they're not that guy, okay, but they targeted Bowers. He's someone that's going to be targeted. He was converted from a safety in high school too, and when I saw the high school film at first, it's like, okay, let's see what's going on. But his awareness and his ball tracking skills converted into that tight end position. He was able to close in on the separation with the wide receivers and everything. He was always in the play and in the wide receiver's face as a safety. And now you transfer him to a tight end. Now he's doing the same things, but now he's being aware of where the safeties are at and making those plays and adjusting to them. Like you said, a Yak Munster, he's doing all those necessary things. And plus he has the speed and he has some size. He's not afraid to get physical. But something that I think we hopefully see a little bit more will be some blocking. Get him in the blocking game a little bit more too, and that way he can be on the field more. Sometimes you want that in that tight end too. As a tight end, I believe when I saw he was at 6'3", so that may be a little bit more undersized than what you see some tight ends. But again, he has the physical traits to be a wide receiver too. So we might see him at not wide receiver two as in like the second, but just a wide receiver also. Right. But you think about someone like a Deuce Robinson that was as a tight end, but then you might see him as a wide receiver. I kind of see this in Fannin where he might be outside a little bit more than playing at that tight end spot too, because of what he can do with his feet and what he can do when the ball's in his hands.
Yeah, he's just athletic. It just jumps off the screen. I've seen him make some one-handed catches. I've seen him make catches in traffic and just kind of like zip his body around. Like I say, he's a big guy, but he's able to maneuver his body. And the fact that he can put his hand in the dirt and protect his QB gets him on the field all 3 downs. He's not a Mike Gesicki. He can do the damn thing at all 3 phases of what he needs to do at tight end. So I love him. I think the sky's the limit for him coming this season and next.
For sure.
SC, who's your final guy?
So let's go IDP. No, we gotta keep it with the IDP guys, and we gotta keep it with my guys from Houston. That's gonna be Cameron Whitfield, a redshirt sophomore out at Louisiana Raging Cajuns, the Lafayette. 6'3", 238. Man, this guy just explodes off the line. He's someone that he gets around the edge, he gets around the guy, and he's there in a snap. He one of the top edge rushers, I think, that could be in the Power 4. Or look out, he could be if he ends up going there and everything. But he had 44 total tackles with 8 sacks plus 3 forced fumbles. This guy is physical. That speed around the edge matters, but he's not afraid to push the blockers around and get there as well. He could be a run stopper if you call him and need him to be, but I just love the upside in this kid. When you look at these guys, you want that burst off the initial snap, and he definitely brings it. As soon as the ball snaps, he's in your face. Yeah. So he's someone that not biased with Houston. He actually went through a Pearland School District, which was my rival in high school, so don't really respect it that much. But hey, man, you gotta show the love, right? And he's someone that I definitely want to show the love for, and I'm targeting in some of my IDP C2C leagues.
You talked about getting in the face and instantaneous. He had 9 tackles for loss on top of those 8 sacks too. So this kid is just looking for leather, man. He's always in the backfield, just trying to knock the ball loose, just whether it's a pressure or just a run stop, he's got it. The only concern is where was he in his redshirt freshman year? Played 12 games, really didn't register much numbers. You know what I mean? If you look at the tape, he was out there. He did get time. He didn't. It was like a third of the snaps of what he had last year. Mm-hmm. But maybe this just clicked. You know what I'm saying? This year for him, this past season, and put up numbers. So I like to see him stack back-to-back years. So yeah, I'm cool with it. You want to talk about a guy you stash and see what happens first couple weeks of the year? Let's stash Whitfield and let it pop.
Yeah, any of those guys outside the power four, you're taking those flyers on to say, okay, what can you do and see what they can do at that next level. So that's where you go with him. He might not be your every week starter, but pay attention to the matchups. Is there a quarterback that is gonna struggle or they have a bad offensive line, because he's gonna eat every single time if that offensive line has any kind of trouble.
Nino, who's your last guy?
I'm going to stick in that IDP lane, and we're going to go with those guys outside of the P5. I'm going to go to a guy out of Tulane, Jesus Machado, linebacker for the Green Wave. Listen, they lost everyone in that linebacker department. Dorian Williams, Nick Anderson, both of them went to the NFL. Dorian stayed at Buffalo. Nick obviously went to the Saints, but, didn't make after camp and was just kind of trying out here and there, but played phenomenal for Tulane this previous season. This guy stepped in when they really weren't sure who was going to be the guy. Damn near put up 100 tackles, had 98 tackles, 56 solo, right? 3 tackles for loss and INT. But the dude is he's a dog. Bloodhound. Gets in the backfield, 41 run stops. Like he's not the best in coverage, right? Because he let up an 80% reception rate, but no touchdowns allowed. So it kind of keeps everything in front of him. But like I said, he just likes to get downhill, just likes to be disruptive. He had 16 total pressures. He's a leader on the field. It's 7 games of 7+ tackles. So like he came back. He's going to be that guy. He's going to be a signal caller for them on the defense, the leader, the guy, calling things out. I expect him to take that step and have like a Dorian Williams type season where you're getting 115, maybe 120 tackles, probably getting 60 solo. I like to see the sack numbers a little bit more, in tackle for loss. But listen, the run stopping is there. He can plug the holes. He's like a cereal box, man. He's in the box all the time, and you ain't stopping him. That's where his natural habitat is, and it's where he performs. So give me Jesus Machado one more season for the Green Wave.
Yeah, you said like 120 tackles. I think that's good because the note I have on him is he's always where the ball's at. If he's not making the tackle or the assisted tackle, he's in the vicinity within like 5 or 6 yards, right, of just being there. So, I mean, he's someone that as he continues to stack that and get there, he's going to be relevant, and you will see him get 100+ tackles because he understands where he needs to be. Even if he's on the other side of the field, he's bolting over to that side to get to that ball. So you love to see that. A lot of his tackles, it seemed like he was aiming too low. Like he wasn't getting the full wrap up around them. He was going at their feet and stuff. So when it comes to sacks and you're thinking about that at that next level too, something you want to adjust, just aim a little bit higher there, because a lot of times they frown upon that when you go after the quarterback and aim, below the knees. And I did see that a lot. But again, someone that just has a knack to getting to where the ball's at, regardless of where he's at on the field, he's somewhere that's in that area too. So I like that.
He just needs to dial it down a little bit. Sometimes I think he over pursues, gets in the backfield, then thinks he's going to get like chipped or something, and all of a sudden he doesn't get touched. The next thing you know, he's stumbling over himself and just got to throw himself at wherever he needs to be to make a play. But I just like the motor, man. The motor's like you said, the motor's always there. He's constantly going. And for a guy to come in who was kind of just like a spelled depth guy the previous year to take over that leadership role on a team that lost a lot and performed well, I just think the kid's got it. So I want to see him, like you said, I want to see him get more of those, negative plays in the backfield. Yeah.
As you said it right there too, sometimes speed is great. We talk about speed all the time, but sometimes these guys got to slow it down just a millisecond. Just tune it down a little bit, man, because you're going too fast for even yourself to, overshoot that tackle or anything. So, yeah, love it.
So those are some names to watch and write down for your CFF, C2C, and IDP leagues. Now, our next segment, this or that. For this, we'll be looking at a 2023 NFL rookie versus 2024 NFL rookie. First matchup, Chase Brown versus Jalen Wright. SC, you're up first.
Yeah, this was hard. And this was I wanted to believe in Chase Brown's season. I know they brought in Zach Moss, so is Zach Moss healthy? If he's healthy, then I think that's going to eat everything away from Chase Brown. But I do love the game. I was super high on him when he was coming out last year. I think he's going to be a relevant runner and someone that can be established. Jalen Wright, though, man, right now, I'm pretty sure I have Jalen Wright as my RB6 in this draft class. And that guy's just super elusive, man. I think he can do everything better than what Chase Brown can do. And I think if he's in the right situation, I would go him. Jalen Wright over it. Now, I will say, if Zach Moss is hurt, though, I'm taking Chase Brown because I think that's going to be their workhorse back. They're going to use him. But right now, because Zach Moss is in front, I think he's going to be their back there. I'm leading Jalen Wright this time.
Oh, I love these shows because I know I'm the odd man out here because I know that Andy is the right guy and I have no problem catching smoke. Call me Snoop Dogg. I'm here for all the smoke. All right. 800 yards in 2022 for Jalen Wright. Got over 1,000 in 2023. Kudos to you, good sir. His receiving skill set appeared in 2023. Not his own fault. It was the fault of the way they used him. I think his game is great. He's right in that pocket between 6 and 8 for me. Chase Brown was a 5th-round pick, right? He had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons for Illinois. 15 touchdowns in the Big Ten. His receiving skill set was there for 4 straight years, okay? Now he went to the NFL. And there's a lot of things that played against him, right? His quarterback was not 100% off the rip. You had wide receivers being divas, right? They brought back Joe Mixon, not sure what they were going to do with this guy, but he kept producing. Even when they tried to just run him out of the building, he just kept producing. So there wasn't really a chance for Chase Brown. But when he got his opportunity, Jacksonville, 9 attempts, 60 yards, right? He had 2 receptions for each game down the end of the season after week 13. So he was getting targeted. I think he had 4 targets each game from week 13 on, right? And he averaged 4 yards per carry in limited amount of attempts. Zach Moss can suck a fart through a straw, okay? He's a guy that just reaped the benefit of the opportunity of being in Indianapolis beside a beefy line built for Jonathan Taylor. Well, you ain't got that beefy line in Cincinnati, okay? And I believe that Chase Brown will have a better year, maybe this year and next year, depending on where Wright falls, because I think the opportunities are going to be there for him. I think they are going to need to use Chase Brown out of the backfield, not only in running, but in the receiving game, because I don't think T. Higgins is going to be on that team when it becomes week 1. They're going to have to figure out whether they draft a guy or not. Right, and boys. So now there's a lot of minuses without a lot of positives going on here. I think that the guys at home that are there and familiar with the system will reap the benefits. Therefore, I think you could say, I'm not talking 1,000 yards, okay? Mm-hmm. But I think you can get probably 600 yards out of him on the ground, a couple touchdowns, maybe 300-400 yards receiving, get 1,000 yards combined out of him, and probably double-digit touchdowns. Because if Burrow's healthy, he's going to like to have that guy that he can just check it down to when Chase is getting doubled and he's, in the time while he's trying to work out, see what happens. They also lost their tight end. Irv Smith's gone as well. So it's like there's a lot of offensive pieces that are gone. I like Wright's game, but I'm not sure that right off the rip he could have a Chase Brown rookie year.
Did they pick up Gesicki? Is that who they got though? The tight end.
Hey, what's it? 3 years?
Yeah. No, but they did get a tight end though.
Yeah, they lost Irv. They got a tight end. I just like Irv Smith can block because he can't block. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So he's the liability. He's not going to be on the field at all 3 downs.
The thing with these rookie running backs is there's probably off top 5-6 spots where it's like this is primo for a running back because they need somebody, right? So Jalen Wright could easily go away just based on his landing spot, just because like if he goes to New England, I would hate that. Right. But if he goes somewhere to like Miami, I think you have to bite that all over you would of Chase Brown and Cincy. But it depends on it. I get what you're saying about Chase Brown and his elusiveness and his skill set and what he can do. But I think Jalen Wright can do that. Like you said, he showed it this final year there. He has that speed. In a foot race, I'm probably taking Jalen Wright over him. And so with the talent, I think I want to go Jalen Wright. Landing spot will definitely change that, as I mentioned. I want to believe in Chase Brown, but they brought in Zach. If they didn't bring in Zach Moss, Chase Brown would have been the answer. But now I'm like,
but Zach Moss was garbage. The only reason why he was good is because Jonathan Taylor went down. And he had the opportunity when he was in Buffalo, and they needed a running back. He was trash.
Yeah.
So it's he just benefited having the opportunity of being in front of a top 5 offensive line run wise, and you had a backup QB who happened to be able to air the ball out. That's it. I mean, he's not that great of a dude. They're going to see that in Cincinnati, that you paid a guy off 1 year's production. Where's the production been the last 3?
Yeah, 100%. sometimes you take that last year projection. It's like, okay, now I have to eat. So that's gonna be one of the most intriguing running back battles, Zach Moss and Chase Brown, because Zach Moss knows he has something to prove still. Where Chase Brown's like, nah, man, this is my spot. Like you
You
came
come in
into
my
my
house.
house, yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be a nice battle to see.
Next matchup: Tank Bigsby versus Audric Estime. Nino, you're up first.
You even go to like the heights and the freaking weights being exact, like you almost like body structure. You like to make it difficult. And I was a fan of Tank when he landed in Jacksonville, because I think he's the perfect complement to Travis Etienne if they used the dude at all. Okay, he only had 50 attempts for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns, but in Clemson he had 800 plus yards 3 straight years, right? And back-to-back seasons of 10 touchdowns. It just fits that scheme. I don't know. Maybe he's not picking up what they're putting down, but his game, I thought, translated to a perfect compliment to him. I don't trust any kind of coaching info this early in the season when when Pisa comes out and says that they're going to use Bigsby more to save Etienne. Maybe because he's injury prone. Maybe that is is a possibility. I got a better chance of flipping a coin. You know what I mean? And trusting that guy. Audric Estime has proven to me to absolutely get better every year under new OCs and quarterbacks. You're learning new systems and learning a new cadence under a new guy, and you continued to get better. I love his game. I think he's a bowling ball. Big guy, can run, got speed. A little bit upright, right? He runs a little bit upright for me, but he's good between. He can run zone. He can run gap. He's not a one-trick pony. You know what I mean? He can get to the outside. He has receiving skills. I'm going to have to go Audric Estime here. I think Audric Estime will have a better NFL career, fantasy-wise and legitimate, than Tank Bigsby will, unfortunately.
Yeah, so you took a lot of words out of my mouth here. Ostame, you talk about a late breakout, 1,300 plus yards, 18 touchdowns, 17 receptions, 142 yards. Just looked great. I know the combine knocked him down because that speed, we didn't see it. But if you watch his tape, he's not very he makes it happen, but he's not that speedy. He's a patient runner. He's a slower runner. Bigsby, same thing, man. I was in love with him too. If Jacksonville uses Bigsby as a goal line back and takes out Etienne in those scenarios, and he just plugs in these touchdowns, I'd be happy with that. But they don't do that, and that's a big issue because, as you mentioned, he's that fair complement. I don't expect Bigsby to get 10 plus carries or anything, but he needs to get 5, 6, 7 consistently to rest Etienne and let him work, because he is someone that in college it looked like he could be the workhorse. He could be someone that just gets the ball and just pounds the rock, kind of your old school type of running back. And they don't need that in today's game, and you don't need it when you have Etienne. But again, 5 to 7 attempts per game, that tires down the defense, because even if he's getting 2-3 yards here and there, that's wearing down that defense for Etienne or even Bigsby to get that long run down the stretch there. In that regards, though, because the only reason why I'm saying Estime is because Etienne's there. If Etienne wasn't there, I like Bigsby for sure. And it's kind of a similar situation with Chase Brown, where it's just because there's another back that they're going to feature more than this guy, and I haven't seen the opportunities. If he had more opportunity, I'd be like, okay, they want to use him in this system. But again, the unknowing, I do like Estime more, and I think he's a sleeper running back. But he is part, like, if Estime goes to Dallas, for example, that's prime, and he's gonna eat there. You're gonna love him there. Like, guarantee people are gonna shoot him up, be like, "Oh snap, this is the next whoever you want to say," But it's hard being the second fiddle in a running game for a team that has an established running back that knows how to get extensive carries. And Etienne saw a uptick in his attempts this past year than he did his rookie season. So I don't see it really adjusting any different there. So for now, with the unknown, I have to go Estime too.
That was our this or that segment. Now moving on to our next one. 5 statements with Nino and SC. Statement number 1, Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden will have over 105 receptions by the end of the 2024 season. Nino, you're up first.
Hell no. Okay, I'm going to go with he stays around 80 to 85. Couple of factors here. They brought in 2 legitimate pass-catching backs, and Marcus Carroll and Nate Noel. They can catch the ball with the greatest of them, okay? Theo Weiss will see more receptions. He gained more targets down the stretch. The last 6 or 7 weeks of the season, he had that relationship. He got that trust with Cook, and they were targeting him. Both of those guys were getting targeted. I'm going to tell you my main reason why he will not get 105 receptions. You can write this name down, folks. Brett Norfleet will be the main reason why Luther Burden will not get 100 receptions. He is going, as a freshman, he had 18 for 160 and 3 touchdowns. They used this kid. They didn't need to. They had the weapons, and they featured this kid. He was I think he was a top 13 tight end in the class, right? And I believe that he's going to be featured more. They will use him more. He's going to take that step. Theo Weiss obviously has that rapport now with Cook. Maybe the yardage will go up. The touchdowns will go up for Luther Burden. I don't think that he'll get to 100 receptions or even over 100 receptions this year.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Luther Burden, I mean, he's one of the top wide receivers, right? But 105 receptions, that's a lot. You know, and that means he had 124 targets last season. To get to 105 with keeping the same catch rate, which was at 69%, means he has to get like 155 targets or so. And I just don't see that happening in that offense. And it's not a knock on what he could do, because if he gets those targets, yeah, by all means he's doing that. But I don't necessarily see that happening. And you talk about guys that have seen over 100 receptions. We've only seen 4 the past 2 years, 8 total the past 2 years. The last SEC guy to have over 105 receptions was in 2021, and that was Wan'Dale Robinson at Kentucky. Now, I think that's more so on the people know about Missouri now. So they're not sleeping on Luther Burden anymore. He's going to have a tougher year this year because people have better tape on him, and they know this is their prime guy. Again, this is, if we were talking about someone maybe back in the Pac-12, RIP the Pac-12, maybe, because he could be that prime target. But we're talking about the SEC. They know what to do on defense. They know how to guard these top guys. I can see him getting 90, 92, 95 receptions there, but I think 105 is a bit spicy. Had you said 100 receptions on the dot, I probably would start thinking, okay, maybe, but I think 105 is too spicy. I don't think the targets will be there for him to make sure that happens. There's too many mouths to feed, and he's not going to be open as much. I think a lot more defenses are going to be able to cover him and understand what he's doing. Still one of the top receivers in this next draft class, but I just don't see that necessarily happening there. So I'm out.
I don't know if they're going to be able to cover him, but I just don't know if the timing will be enough for him to, get enough for those targets. I think there's other talent on the team that's going to draw talent. And like I said, they went out, and Schrader left to go to the NFL. They went out and got 2 backs that are very good, both on the ground and receiving. Carroll had over 1,000 yards. I think Nate Noel had close to 1,000 yards the previous season. Last year he was hurt, but he came out, first couple weeks ready to go when he had stacking 100-yard games. So I think they will draw away. I think they may not be as much of a air it out offense this year. They might dial it down a little bit and incorporate the run game, which will incorporate the play action. Like I said, I think his touchdown total will increase. I don't think he'll get it to over 100 receptions.
Statement number 2. Fresno State wide receiver Jalen Moss had 55 receptions as a true freshman. By the end of the 2024 season, Moss will have over 80 receptions and break 1,000 yards. SC, you're up first.
Yeah, man, I'll buy this. They're losing 2 of their two, not necessarily top guys, but 2 of their senior wideouts. You're having Eric Brooks go, Jalen Gill's gone, and both those guys accompanied for 109 receptions there. So they're leaving. So this is going all towards him. I think that's more of an easier buy because he was rather close, maybe 20 plus receptions, a little bit more, but I think he could buy in on 1,000 yards. Someone that I'm actually looking at, though, outside that I think could make a bigger jump in production is going to be the junior wideout, which is going to be Josiah Freeman. He's a 6'3" beast. He's not as fluid as you will with his route running, but I think because of that, he can be on the outside and feed off of Moss there to get better production than what he has had. He just had 35 targets this past season, so you didn't see him on the field a lot. He was down on that depth chart. So if we're talking about someone that will break out more effectively, I think we might see an uptick in Freeman. But yeah, I'll buy in on Moss getting 80 receptions and 1,000 yards. He's just gonna be their guy this year.
Nah. Listen, freshman production was great. He had 55 and 700 yards. I can see. I can definitely see him getting 1,000, but from going 55 to 80, no. For the reason you mentioned, Freeman, he wasn't buried on the depth chart. He played almost every single game. It was just Gill and Brooks were targeted more, and they were touchdown whores. They both had 6 apiece, so they draw the targets away. He came in the last 4 games of the season and said, "You two gentlemen can sit the hell down, hold my beer," and we're just snagging touchdowns left and right. I think Mikey Keene's health. We missed 2 or 3 games. We were speaking about that before you hopped in the green room. He missed a couple of games, so that might have affected both of these guys' production there. You know what I mean? Because it was, like we said, inconsistent QB play. But Sherrod is a dude in that backfield, and he will command his. So he's going to get his on the ground. I think Josiah does take that step and gets about 55 receptions. I don't know if because he's a smaller guy and he plays bigger than what he is. At 12.6 yards per catch, he's that deep target guy. So I can see the yardage total increasing. You know what I'm saying? But I just don't know if he's going to have the durability to get peppered in those short intermediate routes and take those hits to be able to stack those. He's not going to be able to get 80 receptions on the outside. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's going to miss, but he can get those home run balls. A lot of those big catches, he made one-handed catches in front of 2 defenders last season. So I think he can get the yardage. I don't know if he can add on, 25 more receptions. I just don't know if he can get that.
And with Freeman, I think it was weeks 4 through 6, if I'm not mistaken, were his best productions as far as receptions. He had 4, 2, and 5 back to back, and then he started getting 0 and 2, and those targets just weren't there. But that was because Magdalena did go down, and he was injured for that time, and then he came back. So that's why I meant, I know he was playing every game, but as far as the ball was going elsewhere, it wasn't going towards Freeman. They were going towards Brooke. They were going towards Gillian. So I think he sees a bigger jump there. I want to see him more efficient. He was kind of a stiff player. I need him to loosen up a little bit, and I think that's maybe why he wasn't targeted as much, because he wasn't necessarily getting that separation outside of his body length and just stretching his arms to get there, So if we see that, I'm all in on Freeman this year. But I love Moss, and I think he can have a good year this year, a better year than what he did his freshman season.
Statement number 3: quarterback Julian Lewis reclassified from 2026 to 2025 is currently committed to USC. By 2024, early National Signing Day, Lewis will have flipped his commitment to Georgia. Nino, you're up first.
I love this kid. And I think that he could very well be the top QB in this class. I know everybody's on the Underwood train and all that, but I think this kid is. I think he got the first offer. He was the first commit to the class, right? It was his freshman year. After his freshman year of high school, he committed to USC. Georgia has Beck. They still have Vander. Which one went to
Vandergriff went to Kentucky,
Yeah, but there's another guy there, another 5-star there.
They have Gunnar Stockton.
Okay, who is probably the better athlete out of all of the guys that were there?
I love Stockton.
So he's going to have his year after Beck leaves. And then they just brought in a kid, another 4-star this year, right? Andy, who's the 4-star kid that they brought in this year?
Georgia?
For Georgia, Ryan Puglisi.
Julian Lewis ain't going to Georgia. Puglisi's going to be the dude. He might even be the dude next year. But when I hear people, linebackers and defensive ends talk about Puglisi like he is the dog already. They say his arm is crazy. The kid's got it. I don't think Julian Lewis is going to Georgia. I don't know if he's going to stay at USC because I wouldn't trust anything tied to Lincoln Riley at all. But I don't think he's going to Georgia. He could go to your school, homie. There's a very good chance he could wear the maize and gold. Because that, all this change, reallocation, you got you're getting all these big teams now with Oregon coming in there and stuff. They need a guy. Jaden Davis is there, but I think Julian Lewis could definitely push that kid. And I think Georgia's got the department. I know they like to stack these 4 and 5 star QBs, but I don't think he's going to Georgia.
You said he can go to your school. I thought you were talking about Oregon. I was like, oh no, man. Austin Novosad heated up. This guy's looking.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Nah. Well, let's talk about Lewis. We're not gonna go into Novosad. Will he do it? So it's gonna be between Alabama and Georgia if he does redo it. A reason being is he had 4 offers from Alabama or 4 unofficial visits to Bama and then 5 unofficial visits to Georgia. This kid's from Georgia. He played at Charleston High School. So if anything, if he has an opportunity to go there, I think he does because he stays home. And he's playing at a premier high school there. It's a 7A program, so it's one of their top schools there. A beautiful floater and everything. Sorry if the competition is there, but the transfer portal is crazy. Who's to say Stockton doesn't leave because he hasn't gotten the shot, and because even if Beck is there and they don't give him the shot and they give it to this other guy they just signed there as well. So if it is a flip, I think Georgia's a heavy possibility. Of course, it's way too early to tell that, but I do like the idea there because he is from there. He stays home. He stays in front of his home crowd. A lot of times that becomes a big factor for these high school athletes to say, hey, I get to stay in front and play with my guys. And Georgia's a premier team. We know this is the bridge year for Bama. We're going to see if they're going to be legitimate or if it's, like you mentioned, all the time, it's not about the coach after Saban, it's about the next coach. So maybe a new coach comes in, it's not DeBoer, and they actually come out and say, Lewis, bro, you've already came here. We like what we see. Come over here. I can see that happening too. But staying home, it makes sense for him if he does do it. I do think if USC is not the spot, it does come down to Alabama and Georgia because he seems right now to have the most connection with them. And he seems right now that these are the 2 programs outside of USC that he's going to be connected to this whole senior year of his.
He recommitted. It means that this MF wants to play. Freshman year, he's Dylan Raiola 2.0 with the commitment issues, right? This kid wants to play. Whatever. If he goes to Georgia, side note, the whole kids want to stay home and play, they feel better. Yeah, those aren't the top 25 kids. Those are the kids at the 250 to 200 rankings because the top 25 kids, they don't give a shit where it is. They just want to be an elite program to put their talents on national television. And that wasn't a knock at USC at all. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, to be honest, though, too, NIL. If you want to talk about that, I mean, who's going to be?
I think any one of those 3 schools got the same amount of NIL money to give the kid.
By to quote Saban, I don't know if y'all heard the Saban interview. He came out and said, my wife came up to me and said, what are we doing now? And, a big reason why his retirement is like, I have moms coming up to me and saying, how much are you paying my son? So NIL plays a big factor now too, where they have it all the money too, but it could be not necessarily played home, but does Georgia end up offering more for this kid because he's in their backyard too?
They may offer more, that's true. But what's to say that they Georgia doesn't target one of these other gentlemen like Mr. Underwood or whoever else? I just don't know. I really truly believe in Pugsley. I think Ryan I can't even say his last name. I'm terrible with these names. But I think that kid's got the juice, man. He took a jump like my boy Drunkenmeyer did. Drunkenmeyer did in the Elite 11. So like he went from middle of the pack in the 11s, and Ryan came out and was like top 3 after the Elite was over. He's got a cannon of an arm, and he's a leader. And like I said, Julian Lewis changed his class, reclassified for a reason. He ain't want to go to Georgia and have to battle out and maybe sit for another 2 years. He wants to come in year 1 and play.
I do think Stockton is the odd man out. I think Stockton ends up transferring out after this year. I just don't know if he's going to get that same opportunity. I love the kid, but I just don't know if he's going to get that opportunity to have a shot. So we may see him transfer out by the end of the year.
Yeah.
One thing about Ryan Puglisi is he was the first quarterback committed at Georgia in this past class. When Dylan Raiola committed, he didn't waver from his commitment.
Nope.
He was ready to compete with Dylan Raiola. He wasn't scared. He wasn't going to open up his competition or his recruitment. He was going to compete. So he is a guy that believes in himself, and he will take everyone on because he wants to be that next great Georgia quarterback.
Like Devin Brown with a real number.
And on that note, though, too, you love to hear that because You don't see that a lot. A lot of guys now, it's like, oh, there's a guy
Out.
that I'm not going to try to compete. I just want to get my time, right? So the fact that he's doing that says a lot mentally, and something that they do focus on in that cause. That was, where are you at mentally, right? Are you going to be able to take that loss? Are you going to have that short-term memory as a quarterback? And to hear that does raise that bar a little bit more, because shit, if he goes in there, and again, to back up my statement, I think Gunnar Stockton's gone next year, because if this guy's going in there to compete, we might see him as a QB2 for the team.
Statement number 4. True freshman Stanford running back Chris Davis will be the leading rusher on the team. SC, you're up first.
So my notes, I said, nah, watch out for Cedric Irvin Jr., but then I said, not really. Then I said, not really. Then I said, not really. I'll let you speak on him here in a bit. But Chris Davis does have the speed breakaway. He does fold it. Someone that, really gets to me is Cole Tab. This is a smaller guy. This is a guy that I can see is low to the ground. He runs with force, has that speed on top of that. He's a durable athlete. Senior year had 1,800 yards rushing. I mean, this guy is phenomenal, can do it all. He reached 1,000 yards in 8 games. And granted, this goes in the high school level and everything, but someone I think you want to watch out for is it Chris Davis? Yeah, I think it could be, out the gate. I think regardless, they all need something there when it comes to Stanford. So it's going to be an interesting, as we were talking about with the Cincinnati battle, Stanford running back battle is going to be something to watch, because I think when we first get into the spring games and even the first couple games, they're going to be rotating through some guys. I don't think they're going to have the true workhorse that they want quite yet. But my top 2 guys right now are probably Davis and Tab. But go ahead, Neil. Let's see what you guys say about Mr. Irvin here.
What game did you watch?
For who?
Irvin.
I can't tell you off the top.
All right, because if you watch one game, you wouldn't even have the rest of this conversation. My man had 5 missed tackles against Arizona's defense and 1 run play. 5. Andy, me and Andy I shared the clip. Yes, I'm cutting film on Cedric Irvin right now because this is retarded. Okay, this dude has balance, speed, physicality, vision, footwork. I can keep going if you like. He has all the boxes you need to check. The problem was you had Emmitt Smith's son sitting in front of him that they were hoping would get healthy again, who kept eating these carries in these attempts. Your boy Tab, you're gonna get himself a Tab and sit by the end of the bench and drink that Tab down real nice and slow. He ain't even seen the field. Cedric Irvin is going to be RB1 off the rip, and what Stanford is building between Daniels and Irvin, bro, that's a 1-2 combo of running back and running QB that can take over that team at any time. Cedric Irvin has pedigree. His father played in the NFL for like 5 seasons. This dude has all the talent in the world, and like I said, he checks every single box. Pass catcher, he can pass pro. Like, I'll go with the proven guy that did it for my team instead of the guy that's coming in freshman that's going to try to take my guy's role.
That's fair. I like the attitude better, man. Like I said, I'll go back and watch Irvin, but no, I know he has that bloodline. You always like to see that, and that's hard to sleep on whenever you have a guy that has a father or a father figure that played at the NFL level as well. But I do think Stanford's running room is hurting. So I think these guys with the fresh legs that have something to prove and something to come in can do it. And with you're talking about Cole Tab, I mean, we've seen it time and time again where these smaller backs just find that success because you don't see them and they sneak through the offensive line, and Tab does that. And he has the size of a 5'9", 190, not necessarily a bowling ball, but he runs with physicality as well. He goes through there. He's not afraid to get those tackles. You talk about contact balance. He has it there as well. And plus he has the speed to break out to the outside. You think about almost like a Deuce Vaughn type just because of his size, where he's super small and these running backs aren't being seen. So because of that, they end up exploding out and getting these big plays because you don't see him. I've seen time and time again with Tab where you see the line pile up and then all of a sudden you see this little guy just come out on the side and guess what? It's Tab and he's gone for the touchdown. So that's where I'm going with my guy.
Statement number 5. Florida State wide receiver room. Alabama transfer Malik Benson will be the wide receiver 1. Nino, you're up first.
Malik Benson, explosiveness, top end speed, already been talked about as a leader in the locker room and on field in the spring. He's open field monster. 6'2", 195, coming out of JUCO, went to Alabama last year. Didn't really get the opportunities, but he's good contested catch guy. He's a great body control. With all that said, no, he's not going to be wide receiver 1 for the Florida State Seminoles, because I think there's going to be too many guys that are going to eat into it. And I think my guy finally develops. We talked about a guy like, Jeremiah Smith, who said is Julio Jones, right? Well, this kid was labeled Julio Jones coming into the league last year in the class. I believe Akeem Williams takes that step in this wide receiver room, in his wide receiver 1 for the Seminoles. DJU likes, those alpha guys, right? And I think Akeem Williams, coming out of high school, that was his style at JUCO. He was the alpha on the outside when he rebounded his career there. I'm thinking, he only had 5 targets last season. He was raw. He wasn't really catching on. Another year under his belt in the Norvell system. Watch out for Akeem Williams, wide receiver 1 for the Seminoles.
I like Williams too. I actually just traded him for a second round pick in my C2C league. But yeah, I mean, you hit it there. I mean, Julio Jones, great comparison. I mean, just has that size, has the physicality, has the speed you want. But we will talk about speed. I mean, before we get to Malik Benson, let's talk about Jaylen Brown. Just someone that he's going to take the top off the defense every single time. You watch any film on this guy, he is going deep and he is beating the defenders by 5 or 10 yards. He is that quick. But Malik Benson, I mean, you talk about a guy that's a yak machine, as well as someone that off the line, you watch the acceleration. And Nina, you shared a clip. I forgot what coach it was, but talking about just how guys need to adjust at the line to get their first step and boom. And this guy does it. You see Malik Benson right when he gets off the line. He is adjusting his feet. He is pressing off his right or left foot wherever he's at, and he is gone, and he is getting the yards he needs. He also knows how to gain the separation. He has that slippery mentality, if you will. It's going to be the wide receiver 1 is going to be someone that gains the most targets. I think we might see Malik Benson do that. I do like Akeem Williams and Jaylen Brown. I think this is a nasty core that's going to be slept on for Florida State until we actually see them on the field, because they have so much dynamic all around. You have your physical guy in Akeem Williams. You have your guy in Jaylen Brown that can, again, beat the guys over top and hit those safeties over top. And then you have Malik Benson that can really do it all over the field, because he's probably their best route runner right there. And so I think for that reason, he is going to be that. Now, if you're talking about wide receiver 1 as far as touchdowns, I can give it to Akeem because he has the size over Malik, and he's going to be someone he's going to have a highlight reel, top 10 ESPN probably play a couple times because of that physicality and because his unnatural ability to just catch the ball. But I'll take Malik Benson as the wide receiver 1.
Now, I believe that, there's another factor in that room that nobody mentioned in Portier that I think could eat into targets. My only concern with Brown is, the hell did he do last year?
Mm-hmm.
They were looking for a wide receiver 2. Couldn't sniff it, right? He got beat out by Lacey. Now Lacey looks like the best thing since sliced bread because he made a one-handed catch in spandex. Woo! Yeah, but like, that's why you had to leave a school knowing that there was going to be a shit ton of targets, yards, touchdowns available to you, and you went somewhere else.
Sometimes that change of scenery is what the person needs, though. They're just like, hey, and you go to Death Valley, man. It's not for the faint of heart. That stadium is loud. It's
SEC, crazy. ACC, though.
So, yeah, that's true. That's true. And in a sense, that's a knock on competition, right? Not it's still, Power 4, but the sense is it's going down, right?
Yeah,
so that's where it could be like, oh, he may feast more so than what we saw. So we'll see.
Bonus statement.
I love it. Oh my Lord.
I'll try something new. Bonus statement. NC State will win 11 games and win the ACC championship. SC, you're up first.
I need to look at the schedule again here. 2024. 11 games.
Yeah.
Man, look at it off the top. Yeah, I think they do it. I think they can. I don't see someone in this schedule. There's going to be your dark horse that could throw out, a big, just end up doing something crazy. I mean, they're playing Clemson, right? That's I think NC State wins that. K Klubnik just went down for me. I just don't know what Clemson's going to do. Wake Forest is always a surprise. That's someone that can do something, but they'll end up beating them. Yeah, Northern Illinois, Louisiana Tech, Syracuse, maybe. LaQuint Allen's a good running back there, but I think they can do that as well. I don't think they'll have a problem with Cal. Stanford's always a team that can be wishy-washy. They have great seasons. They have bad seasons. They're going to beat Duke. Georgia Tech, you can say they're sleepers, and I think they beat UNC. I think this is a opportunity. Let me just see. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. I think this is an opportunity because of the new staff that's there. You have Grayson McCall there, right? You have your guy, Consumpcion. I think they believe they got Noel Rogers, I'm not mistaken. This is an opportunity for them to actually have an undefeated season.
No. They lose week 2 to Tennessee. They're going into Clemson with a lot of moving pieces. I don't know if Grayson McCall is going into Clemson or anywhere like that in his career, okay? And now he's doing it after having kind of a down season last season. Obviously injuries played that role. I love KC. I think he's an absolute stud. But after Clemson, easy peasy. Then you face Syracuse. People are sleeping on Syracuse. Fran Brown, Kyle McCord, Gatson back, fully healthy. Okay, your boy Allen. That one's going to be tough. I'm not sure, but they could win that. Cal, that's another one that is not easy. Okay, Stanford and Duke, yes. Georgia Tech wins that game. They're going to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was on the rise last season. Haynes King looked great down the stretch. Singleton, I think that they could go blow for blow, and I think I'm going to give it to Georgia Tech being at home. North Carolina, they'll win that one because I think Max Johnson's trash. And I think it's going to be a absolute retooling season for the Tar Heels in all aspects except for Hampton. I think he's pretty much the only guy on that team that can get it done regardless. So I think they lose 3 games. So for that matter, I have them at 10-3 or
9-3.
9-3. And I don't even think they'll be an ACC championship. Well, they might be. They might be an ACC championship. All depends on what the rest of the schedule looks like.
You hit on the money with Grayson McCall. This guy, he stayed again because he has something to prove now. We've seen him sling the rock. He has a great arm. He's hitting the plays. He had the injuries last year, and I think if he comes out and shows what he did 2 years ago, it's a whole different ballgame. He has a better wide receiver, 2 better wide receivers if you include Noah Rogers. So if they come out and rely on him, and he actually is the quarterback that we did see a couple years ago, I think that changes a lot of things. And I feel they can be a heavy offense you have to go both for them, like you said.
Yeah, don't throw shade on Sam Pinkney and Gerard Brown. Those guys are not garbage wide receivers. I mean, they may not be, Kevin Concepcion, but I'm not gonna say that Sam Pinkney or Gerard Brown are that far away from what Noah Rogers is. Noah Rogers had all the hype, 4-star, 5-star coming in. We haven't seen him much of it yet. These guys perform. Pickney's been a dude for 4 straight years. So is Gerard Brown. What concerns me about Grayson McCall is he had to stay in state. Nobody else wanted this 76% prolific passer. That's a red flag for me. Why did nobody want Grayson McCall? Why did nobody? There was so many. You don't think Auburn could have used Grayson McCall instead of Peyton Thorne? You know what I mean? There's a lot of teams. So I don't know. We've seen Grayson McCall come down run by run the last 2 seasons. Maybe you're right. Maybe he has something to prove, a chip on his shoulder, whatever it may be. I just need to see it again before I can buy into it. So for me, I'm out. I don't think they win the ACC, and I don't think they get 11 wins.
Do you think he has his best season was 2,873 yards? Do you think he has 3,000 yards this season?
Ooh, right. It'll be close. It'll be very. See, the thing is, and you talk about competition. Coastal Carolina, Sun Belt, ACC. It is a step. Defenses in the ACC are much faster than defenses in the Sun Belt. You get a lot more 4- and 5-star guys across the line. I want to see how he does with these DBs that are elite and top-notch DBs. See what he does there. I think he can stay around the yardage. I think you might not see that 70% completion percentage out of him that he's known to have every year. You could be in the low 60s, mid 60s this year.
Yeah, that season, that was 3 years ago, and he had 73% completion there. But I think again, I think he's a deciding factor, right? If he goes out there and balls, then if we go out in the first 2 weeks, we see them just stomp, just do everything they need, then it's gonna be something where they're gonna ride that hot wave. And if he goes out there and just stays healthy, he's going to be someone that is gonna be talked about as a top quarterback in the nation, just because of his arm strength and the receivers and what he can do. You know, this is a huge what's the word, improvement for Kevin Kelsey as far as the quarterback play. So I'm excited to see this. And yeah, you hit it on the money. The competition is different. So yeah, not to knock on his wide receivers, but he's going to different wide receivers that are at this top competition, this better competition. So we might see a little bit more help on their end on what they can do and get the plays after the catch. You know, you think about sometimes he just has to get the ball in their hands, and then that matters, right? And I think he can be able to do that. So for that reason, I mean, I think they're going to rely on him and his yards. So you're going to have some teams playing from behind.
The measuring sticks week 2. I don't trust moral victories, but if they're in the game within 10 or less against Tennessee, we got some. Mm-hmm. If it's over at halftime, walk away.
Yeah, for sure. That's what, week 2, I think. Yeah. So that'll be huge.
Those were our 5 statements. Now we're going to bring you some 2024 NFL rookies to think about. SC, who's someone that you want to talk about?
Man, so this is going to be a guy that, you know, we talked about like Ivan Pace last year, a guy that might be undrafted. He's probably a day 3 pick, but someone not to sleep on just because he has a knack for getting to that ball. That's going to be Mississippi's linebacker, Nathaniel Watson. Just a guy that is just a beast. He just knows how to track the ball well. He's always involved in the play. In his final 3 games in college, he had 50 tackles, 50 total tackles in his final 3 games. That's insane amount of tackles. And he's going to be someone that he's going to slip. He's going to slip. And I have a feeling when it comes to my Undrafted Gems article, I'm going to be talking about Nathaniel Watson because people are going to slip on him. Maybe because you had someone like, I'm trying to blank, Jet was the other linebacker. Jet Johnson there. That was, you know, also a very good linebacker for him. So people are sleeping on Watson. But he's going to be someone that in your IDP leagues, day 3, undrafted, make sure he's on your team, because if he gets that opportunity, he has the motor, he has the skill set, he has the capability of being a starting linebacker in the NFL, and I think you're going to want him on your teams.
We saw a guy in Texas last year in the same place in Mobile, Alabama, rise his draft stock, get to the NFL. Now he got hurt early for Dallas Cowboys and Overshawn. There's you go. There's your guy right there. You're just taking one guy from Texas, right? And you get Nathaniel. He is the exact same style player, high motor, gets downhill, blows up plays, big tackle production. The thing is I don't know if anybody's sleeping on him anymore, because coming out of Mobile that first day, everybody was like, "Oh man, this kid stinks," and then he just literally climbed the charts day by day. Where I think he led the team in tackles in the game. For his team, he had the most tackles. He has progressively gotten better every single week. Last season, he can play back in coverage. He may not be the best that you're going to catch the ball, but he does keep receivers in front of him, and he has great tackle. Missed tackle rate is low. Like I said, the motor never stops. Energizer Bunny. He's every down linebacker. You don't have to sub him out because he can do it all. And there's a chance that, you know, in a year or 2, he's a green dot wearer in the NFL, because you can see him be a vocal leader on the opposite side of the ball. So I love Nathaniel Watson. I think he's going to be a dude. And I do not think that he goes undrafted. I think he goes in the 6th or 7th round.
Right.
Nino, who's someone that you want to talk about?
Going down a rabbit hole, Andy. You're going to have to pull me out, all right? I'm going to go with Monmouth. That's right, folks. Monmouth running back, Jaden Sheridan. You want to talk speed? You want to talk about breakaway? Just take long runs to the crib, house call. This is him. 4.46 40 at the combine, people. Not at a pro day, not, you know, unofficial on a stopwatch, at Monmouth, at the combine. And it wowed everybody. Speed, it's on the tape, it's in the gameplay. He's got it. He spoke to 30, that's right, 30 NFL teams, right? The Chargers and the Philadelphia Eagles were at his pro day, where he wowed once again with speed and receiving skills. You're looking at 3,700 career rush yards. That's third all-time in Monmouth ever. 26 career rushing touchdowns, right? He had 14 rushing touchdowns of over 50 yards. That's explosive plays, game changes. 17 career 100-yard games. He had 6 career 200-yard games. And my dude ran for 927 yards over a 5-game stretch just this year alone. Almost 800 yards after the catch. Speed, and I said it again, elusiveness. 42 missed tackles forced. This kid is going to be what everybody thought Isaiah Spiller was going to be. This kid is that landing spot probably won't matter. It may not be this year. He may be spotty, but the NFL is going to a 2-back system. He's going to be on whatever team he goes to, like the Tajay Spears type guy. The explosive run play to switch it up, probably get himself between 8 to 12 touches a game, whether it be running or receiving, and he's going to make the most out of those plays. He's going to be a chain mover. He's kind of like if Tajay Spears and Darren Sproles had a kid in the incubator. Here's Jaden Sheridan right there.
Sounds kind of like Cole Tab, to be honest.
Here we go.
No, I mean, everything's great. You know, Combine's always great. You see them go out there and shine, and getting that draft capital will matter. The big concern, you know, when it comes to the NFL, you know, Andy has his size of 5'11", 210. Great. This guy is undersized. He's 5'8", under 100, not 100 pounds, under 200 pounds, right? That's going to be a concern. And I think, you know, you talk about someone that has that explosive. No, but he got hurt a lot too, right? So it's will that be the same guy where he's playing?
They drafted him, not the concern of him getting hurt. They drafted him for the speed.
And that's what I'm saying though, is he's someone where you're gonna say he's gonna be a plug and play player, right? If you're talking about that, and someone that he's not gonna get any kind of workhorse type of back or anything like that. But yeah, someone that may get your opportunity and shine with it. The thing is, we're not going to see it consistent enough, I don't think, for him because of that size and that durability may be an issue. Well, we'll see. I want to see him succeed. You want to see all these guys succeed, but that size at the running back, he's getting against some big defensive linemen now, all these guys in the pros, so that's going to be a big concern. Does he have the speed and the awareness to break through the tackles and break away? Sure, but when it comes to these running backs, the size is a big thing. And I think when it comes to every position, that's the one position where it's like it really can matter. So for that reason, I think it's someone to just watch. I love what you see on tape, love what he can do, but he's slightly undersized at that position.
And those are some rookies to think about. Now, rookie values fluctuate daily, and that leads us into our next segment, the stock exchange. Nino, who's your guy?
Went fishing out in Florida, sat there, my pole, my rod, my launch, and I waited for 4 years before I got a bite. Shit. Central Florida, Naquan Wright, he bit off that big fish last year, okay? Now you might say, well, it had to do with Byron Brown and his play up quarterback. That's fine. You can clip me to the production of Byron Brown because that'll be my success. Because Naquan Wright had 180 attempts for 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. He had never had anything remotely close to that previously. Like we spoke about last week in Penny Boone, there's a little more athleticism in Wright, okay? He's not just that bowling ball. He has some shiftiness to him and some footwork. He's going to reap all these benefits of Byron Brown, drawing that linebacker that's got to stay home, taking that free safety down in the box who's got to watch him, right? So he's going to get open lanes. You're probably going to get 10-plus touchdowns out of him. First year had 8 in a new system. Now he's comfortable. He's got his homie back there. They know the signals, their cadence, evidence good. His big boys up front know how Naquan Wright runs. He had a good season last year. He was healthy. I think that the needle is moving up for Naquan Wright for over 1,000 and double-digit touchdowns. This could possibly get this guy a year like that could probably get him to a 6th or 7th round pick for next year's NFL draft.
That's fair. You know, we talk about size. I mean, he's just 5'9", he's just north. He has a little bit more muscle on him, so I like that, and I like the idea of him getting just over 1,000 yards. I think they're going to use him heavily. He's going into his final year of eligibility, so this is that prove it that I can make it at that next level. And sometimes when you see those guys saying, "This is my final year, I got to do everything I can," I think we're gonna see that in Laquan, and he's gonna go out there and he's gonna leave it all on the field. You're gonna go back and watch his senior tape or his final year of eligibility tape, I guess you can say, and you're gonna be like, "Wow, this guy did everything he can to make sure he had a successful season and he helped his team." I like it.
Cool.
South Florida as a team might be a stock up play. They're looking to make the 12-team playoffs this coming season. SC, who is your stock exchange guy?
So a guy from Arkansas State that just went in there as a true freshman and just dominated, just took over the spot and became the guy. And that's going to be their quarterback, Jalen Rainier, 58.2 completion. You want to see that go up a little bit more, but had over 2,500 yards, 2,900 total, just over if you include his rushing yards as well. 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, meaning he's smart. He's not necessarily just throwing the balls up and getting those turnovers like you do see some of those quarterbacks do. He did have 3 fumbles. Only one of them was lost as well. But you talk about this guy, you talk about the spiral on some quarterbacks. This guy has a nice little finesse to his throws. He knows how to throw the dimes. He knows how to get it right into his receiver's hands and actually make something happen. When the pocket is collapsing around him, he stands with confidence. And you don't see that in some of these freshman quarterbacks. I saw a couple of times when Dante Moore, it kind of looked like he struggled a bit when that pocket collapsed. You didn't see that a lot with Rainier. I definitely expect this to be a huge jump for him and just continue to elevate. As I mentioned, 2,500 yards passing, 2,543 if you want to be exact. We're going to see him take that next step, maybe get a couple hundred more, if not 300 or 400 more. But I really think he's going to be someone we're going to talk about this next coming year as just an efficient passer. He's going to make less mistakes. He's going to be more aware. He understands the game a lot better now. So be on the watch out for him because he's someone you want to target. Debbie leagues, maybe, with Arkansas State, I don't know, but in your C2C leagues, go grab him because he's going to be a top quarterback.
You can always say, this show goes by what I say. You don't scout the helmet, you scout the goddamn talent. This is 2 guys in the last 4 weeks that we've talked about from Arkansas State, and Cross and Reyna. I bet you there's guys that watch this show, or maybe don't even watch the show, that don't even know that Arkansas State has a football team. You know what I'm saying? And we're out here giving you prospects to go and get. I love Reyna's game. I actually think that Arkansas State, Reyna and Cross could have the success of Texas State last season. I feel like they could make that jump where they could, that up high tempo, 70 play offense, keep going, keep the ball going, hurry up. That type of offense works for what they have for those players. All those players there are speedy, good-handed, even the running back, good-handed receiver. I think that Jalen Rader is going to take a step this year as well. And I think you need to watch out for Arkansas State because I do believe that they could be that Texas State team this year.
In his senior season of high school, he led his team to an undefeated season. So that leadership mentality is there, and he's going to get the players behind him for sure. And talk about we're scouting prospects. We're scouting the future phenoms, man. You got to pay attention to what we're saying here.
I love it. Hey, I know Andy loves Rainer, and I wanted his release. We talk about how he's got a strong release. It's quick, bro. Like, and it's a very short movement. Like, he can just kind of it just snaps off the wrist. Young kid can only develop more. I think this is a prospect that could be a dude.
I'm not comparing him by saying this name, but you talk about snap off the wrist, you think of like Mike Vick. It's just so flawless where it's like there's the arm movement's there too, but you also just see that flick of the wrist, and that's something that he does, and it's a beautiful spiral too.
I know a lot of guys hate him, but like Will Levis has that quick snap.
Mm-hmm.
I've been talking about Raynor since week 2 of last year. I absolutely love him. I wrote in my article for week 2 that he was a buy now guy and to spend a majority of your fab on him. Because in week 2, he ran for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, at that time, people were like, oh, he's just a runner. He's just a runner. He proved against UMass he's not just a runner. He went 20 for 25, 383 yards, 6 passing touchdowns. This guy can do it all. Now, he did hit that freshman wall that most freshmen hit, but he rebounded back in the bowl game, and he played very well. Now, he does have a full season under him, a full spring camp under him. I absolutely love Jalen Raynor, and I think he is someone that we should definitely be watching for a stock up. Now, guys, that was a great episode. Now, SC, where can people find your work?
Yeah, man. So you can find some of my work at the Fantasy Football Universe. We're working on our rookie profiles, doing some mocks over there. Got some excited things coming up to continue with the off season. We're grinding all over there. Episode 2 of the O comes out tomorrow, Tuesday, March 19th. That's exciting. We're talking about what the spring sours bring to Oregon and how we keep the grass greener. And then the PPR, so every other Tuesday outside of when the O comes out, that's also here. And then Future Phenoms with y'all, man. Like I said, 2 things you look forward to in the week: Future Phenoms on Monday and what my wife's cooking for dinner.
Love it.
Nino, what are you currently working on? Where can people find you?
It's a laundry list of shit I'm working on. I can't finish anything, but I'm over here at the League Winners with Future Phenoms. I got a couple articles I'm trying to draft up and finish. CFB Nation, I'm over there. We got Debbie Dollins. I do the overreaction Mondays with my guy KT. And I just I run the social media over there. Debbie Degens, we just wrapped up the QB market. Who's the QB1 in this class? Nico Jackson, or is there someone in the following class that you might like a little better that you're willing to trade out for to get some more value? And then I just signed on with Couch Scouts to be their social media SEO guy. So you can find me at _ Nino Brown _ any one of those 4 sites. That's where I'm at.
Great job, guys. Now we'll be back next week, but before we go, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and if you're listening on Spotify and Apple, give us a rate and review, and we'll see you next time on Future Phenoms.